Jayo Sri Vrindavan, Sri Vrindavan, Sri Vrindavan, Jai Sri Vrindavan.
We read in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had one small stone or shila from the expansive form of Sri Giriraj. And he worshipped that little stone with Mahabhava, with the ultimate love that exists in all material and spiritual worlds. Because he saw that Govardhan Shila to be the body of Krishna. He could see the threefold bending form of Krishna playing his flute. He could see Krishna performing his intimate loving pastimes. Nobody should get too close to Govardhan Hill. Please keep a respectful distance. He saw the pastimes of the Lord, the form of the Lord. He saw the abode of the Lord. Because the Govardhan Shila is Krishna. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worshipped that Shila, he would sometimes put it in his eyes, sometimes put him on his heart. And it is explained for several years he kept that Shila always on his heart. And it was always soaked with the tears of Lord Chaitanya's devotional affection. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Govardhan Hill and he saw a beautiful stone, Mahaprabhu embraced the stone in the mood of Radharani embracing Krishna, and he wept in ecstasy. And he would never climb Govardhan Hill because he considered it to be the body of the Lord, and it should be honored and worshipped like the deity of the Lord. Therefore he would never place his foot on Govardhan Hill. And his followers to this day try to follow in his footsteps with faith. We have spoken about Sanatana Goswami, who lived at Chakaleshwar Mahadev, which we will be passing soon. If Abhiram Prabhu gives us permission, we may be able to go in to have the darshan. Let us see. He will do whatever is best for the yatra. But he would do parikrama of Govardhan every day as an act of loving worship. Worship of Krishna. Doing parikrama of Giriraj, how is it worship? Mahajano yena gata sapanta. The highest worship we can do is to follow in the footsteps of the great souls. And in this case, we are very literally following the footsteps of the great souls. And just to confirm this, the cows have come to bless us.
Go, Bard.
This is the most beautiful sight in all of creation.
Take a picture of this. Wow. God, man.
Prabhu, you sit down.
Wow, this is nectar. Radhe Radhe. Jai Ho Gopal. Jai Ho.
What was I saying? Sanatana Goswami Chakaleshwar. He taught us, following in the footsteps of Madhavendra Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna himself, how to worship Govardhan by doing the parikrama. To circumambulate a great personality, keeping them on the right side, is a very, very profound act of respect. And if it is done properly with the heart, even more so. And when Sanatana Goswami was circumambulating Giriraj, as an act of love, he was immersed constantly in a spirit of service to Giriraj. By hearing his glories, by chanting his names, by chanting his glories, and by completely immersing his mind in remembrance. And it's so beautiful. It's puja. There's a particular prescribed type of puja for different times and circumstances for the Lord. Just like for the deity in the temple, our puja is, we offer bhoga, we offer arti, we bathe them, we dress them, and we fan them. So many nice offerings like this in a very personal way. So the deity of Giriraj, he takes pleasure when the devotees perform the parikrama, with their minds absorbed in his loving names and pastimes, and with their hearts praying to please him through our endeavors. So Sanatana Goswami was so much feeling himself to be the servant of Giriraj that he committed himself every day to perform this parikrama. And he did 24-mile parikrama. Even when he was in his 80s. And Krishna felt pity on him. He was taking so much trouble just to please him, that Krishna came and gave Sri Sanatana Goswami a very nice shila that he had stepped upon and played flute and melted it and thus imprinted it with his footprint, and also his cowherd stick and a hoof of a calf. He gave that shila to Sanatana Goswami and told him, you circumambulate this 7 times and it is equal to circumambulating Govardhan Hill. So this is our Sambandha Acharya teaching us. Sri Krishna revealed one of his most beautiful pastimes, described in Srimad Bhagavatam and expanded upon by many realized souls who have witnessed this Leela within the love of their hearts. I'd like to briefly share this narration with you. It is very, very auspicious and purifying to submissively and very attentively hear and speak this story at the lotus feet of Sri Giriraj Govardhan. The anniversary of this event was yesterday, Govardhan Puja. Every year, the cowherd men of Vrindavan were performing this puja for Indra. So Nanda Maharaj was directing the preparations. They were very, very grand preparations for Indra's worship. So Krishna, he saw, and he asked Nanda Maharaj, what are you doing? And what do you hope to accomplish by this? And who are you doing it for? Please explain to me. There should be no secrets amongst relatives. And Nanda Maharaj told that we are cowherd men, and our livelihood is based on the cows giving milk. And for the cows to give milk, there must be nice grains. Nice grass. And also, our bulls are plowing the fields to grow grains. But in order for there to be grains or grass for our survival, we depend on the rain. And Indra is the Lord who provides rains. So it is a tradition for many generations amongst the Brijvasis that every year at this time we perform a puja to Indra to satisfy him, so he will give us nice rains. Very well. So Krishna, he presented very nice philosophy to Nanda Maharaj. He said, it's not the demigods, it's our karma that determines our destiny. The demigods cannot give anything more than what is destined by our pious and impious activities. The ocean doesn't need rain, but it's raining on the ocean just like it's raining in our pastures. In this way, Krishna presented very nice philosophy, karma mimamsa philosophy. And he ultimately told Nanda Maharaj that actually it is Govardhan Hill and the cows that are providing our sustenance. Why should we worship this demigod Indra? We should worship Govardhan Hill, the cows, and the Brahmins. And Nanda Maharaj, who always wants to please Krishna, he said, yes, we will do according to your desire after we worship Indra. But Krishna, 7-year-old child, said, why should we waste all this energy worshipping Indra? Let us take all the paraphernalia that you are meant to use for Indra and use it to worship the cows, the Brahmins, and Giri Govardhan. And then Krishna told how to do it. First there was Anukut, wonderful offerings. And he said, and after those offerings, we should make sacred fires, and then we should feed everybody without discrimination, the Mahaprasad, and then do parikrama around Govardhan Hill. So Nanda Maharaj, for the pleasure of Krishna, took a big risk and offered all Indra's paraphernalia to the cows, the Brahmins, and Govardhan Hill. And there was big mountains and mountains and mountains and lakes of various types of bhoga. And then they offered. And Krishna personally assumed the form of Govardhan Hill. And everyone saw with their own eyes Govardhan Hill just personify as the Supreme Person and eat all the offerings. There was nothing left except Govardhan's hunger. And then he loudly, with the roar of a mountain, but with the sweetness of Krishna's love, called out, Hari! Give me more. There was nothing left. All the Brijabasis were bowing down, and Krishna himself, who was also remaining as a small cowherd boy, bowed down to the glorious form of Govardhan. And ultimately Govardhan was offered a tulsi leaf, and he was satisfied. And suddenly everything appeared again. All the food, all the mountains of prasad and lakes of liquid prasad. Then it was distributed to everyone, to the Brahmins and to the cowherd men and to the cowherd ladies and to the aborigines and even to the animals. The prasad was for everyone. This is Giriraj prasad. And then Krishna led all the Brijabasis in doing Govardhan Parikrama, circumambulating Govardhan Hill. It was such a glorious festival because Krishna was pleased. When you water the root of the tree, every part of the tree is satisfied. When Krishna is happy, all the devotees find the ultimate bliss. It was a wonderful festival of joy. And everyone enjoyed it, except for one personality. Indra was outraged. He's the king of heaven. And as we were speaking last night at Surabhi Kund, he is very much conditioned to accept the regular worship of the Brijabasis every year, generation after generation after generation. And now this talkative little 7-year-old boy has interrupted and broken that tradition, and he's taken all the offerings meant for me and offered it to a hill. He was furious. He wanted to teach a good lesson. Dhyayato vishayan pungsang sanga sajayate. That Krishna tells in Gita, when there is attachment, there's lust. Lust means the desire to enjoy. Gross or subtle. And when that is interrupted, anger. And from anger, bewilderment of memory, he forgot that Krishna is the Lord of his lords. His intelligence was lost, and then Indra engaged in horrible activities. He decided to destroy Krishna and Vrindavan, called for the most powerful clouds, the Samvartaka clouds that come at the time of the deluge at the end of a kalpa. And these clouds of devastation he ordered to flood and destroy Vrindavan. Suddenly the Brijavasis saw these massive black clouds forming in the sky. Now some of you have seen monsoon rain clouds, but you've never seen the clouds of devastation. And there was thunder, lightning, and torrents of rain. Torrents of rain. All of the cows were just crying out in distress, and the bulls, the rain was just pounding against the humps on their back and just splitting up, and the bulls were just looking up into the sky and roaring. And the Brijabasis were desperate. So they all came before Krishna. Although they believed him to be just their friend, their son, when times of distress came, they had no other shelter. Krishna, Krishna, Mahabaho, Krishna, you are full of all opulences, you are very strong. Look at your cows are in distress, and so are we. Please help us. Krishna smiled, and he came to Sri Govardhan and performed one of the most beautiful pastimes that has ever been seen. Krishna who was just a small 7-year-old little cowherd boy, lifted the Govardhan Hill with the effortlessness of a small boy picking up a mushroom. As he lifted Govardhan Hill, there was a massive, tumultuous sound. Massive sound. As he was lifting the hill higher and higher and higher. And as the hill was being lifted, Govardhan's trees were showering flowers to proclaim Krishna's victory over Indra's pride. And little Gopal was holding the Govardhan Hill with the little finger of his left hand. How insulting that is to Indra. The little finger of his left hand, that's the weakest of your fingers. He really wanted to show Indra how insignificant he was. And then Krishna invited all the Brajavasis very happily, please, everything is safe now, come. Govardhan Hill will serve as an umbrella and protect us from the rains of Indra. And all the residents of Vrindavan gathered around Krishna under Govardhan Hill. Shri Giri Govardhan appeared like a beautiful jeweled umbrella to protect the Brajavasis. They were all in circles around Krishna, gazing upon Krishna in such love. And each and every devotee, each cow, each calf, each gopa, each gopi, everyone, they were feeling that Krishna is directly looking only at me. Krishna was reciprocating with the love of each of his devotees' hearts, personally and intimately, simultaneously. The gopas were gazing at Krishna and they were laughing in joy to see what Krishna is doing today. And they were praying, let Krishna be victorious, let Krishna always be victorious. And they were smiling and telling jokes to Krishna. And the young gopis, they were gazing upon Krishna like a chakora bird gazes upon the moon. Through their eyes, they brought Krishna into their heart and lovingly embraced him again and again and again in their hearts. All of the Brajavasis were in ecstasy. Everyone wanted to serve Krishna according to their particular relationship. The Brahmins were offering blessings. The elder Gopas were just encouraging Krishna and smelling his head. And the older Gopis were serving Krishna in their anxiety for his safety. Madhu Mangal, who also has the name Batu, he proclaimed to Krishna, he said, do not have any concern or any fear, my brother. He said, it is by my Brahman Tejas that this hill is being upheld. He said, with my power as a Brahmin, with the tip of my golden cowherd boy stick, I will hold up this hill. You can relax and be happy. And meanwhile, Mother Yashoda, oh my darling son, you are so impudent and so restless due to your uncontrolled senses. For so many years, we have peacefully performed Indra Puja. And this year, you caused a great disturbance. By displeasing the demigods, there can never be auspiciousness. And then she very lovingly touched Krishna's hand. And she said, oh Gopal, my darling son, your hand is as soft as fresh butter. And Govardhan Hill is very hard and very heavy. Then Yashoda Mai, with tears of love in her eyes, she began to pray to Shri Giri Govardhan. She said, "Oh, most compassionate Govardhan Hill, please answer my prayer. Please fulfill my desire. Please become very soft and very light. Float on the finger of my child so that he does not feel any distress." And Madhu Mangal, he said, "Oh, Ma, don't speak like this. If it wasn't for that insignificant Indra becoming angry, we would not all be here together enjoying the festival of nectar, seeing Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill. Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki!" Yashoda Mai did not appreciate that like you did. She said, "Oh, bold one, Madhu Mangal. Lifting a heavy load is never sweet. What are you saying? Look at my son. He's pale. He's trembling. He's tired. His beautiful lotus face looks like a lotus flower that has been withered by the snow. How is it possible for a mother to tolerate such a hardship as this?" And Krishna, he smiled at his mother and said, "Oh, mother," said, "nothing could be more fun than this. Giriraj is floating. He has no weight. By the compassionate, loving mercy of Giriraj, he is floating on my finger. He's just using me as an instrument just to stand here." And Mother Yashoda said, "How can it be that after all of these hours you are still not tired? If it is true what you are saying, then I want to see I want to see Govardhan float in the sky." Madhu Mangal, Yashoda said, "I want to see Giriraj fly around in the sky." And Madhu Mangal said that, "Do not be afraid, mother. Giriraj sits on the lotus hand of Krishna by my Brahminical powers. Therefore, because I am chanting mantras, he feels no pain." And Yashoda replied, oh impudent one, my heart burns in motherly love and you are making jokes? My Krishna is so independent, he does not take guidance from anyone. Nanda Maharaj then intervened, and he said to Yashoda Mai, "Why are you scolding Batu? He's speaking very nicely. At times like this, we have to be a little diplomatic." Madhu Mangal is trying to encourage Krishna, and Krishna's very happy hearing his words. Besides that, Krishna needs the encouragement of his friends. All the Brijabasis gazed upon the Tribhanga, threefold fending form of Sri Krishna, and they all were speaking very loudly, something that they rarely ever did. All the different camps of Brijabasis, the young gopis, the older gopis, the gopas, they were loudly expressing their deep appreciation for Krishna's beauty in public. All of the residents of Vrindavan were loudly praising Krishna's beauty. One Brajavasi said, "Look, in Krishna's left hand he is holding Govardhan Hill on one finger, and now with his right hand he's placing his flute to his beautiful lotus-like lips, and now he's playing a beautiful song with his flute." Krishna smiled, and with one hand was playing melodies with his flute that were enchanting the hearts of each devotee. And Madhu Mangal, he became very much worried. He said, "Oh, protector of your friends, please put down your flute. Do not play your flute. If you play your flute, Giriraj might become ecstatic and fall off your finger, and then we will all be finished." Because we have all seen, when you play your flute, mountains turn into rivers, and rocks turn into, and mountains turn into rivers, and rivers become still, like stone. And then another cowherd boy said, "Yes, what Madhu Mangal is saying is true. If Krishna continues to play his flute, Govardhan Hill will melt into a river, and then Giriraj will be the cause of all of our destruction." And then all the cowherd boys began to pray, "Oh, Govardhan, oh, Giriraj, please, please, maintain your composure. Be patient." And another cowherd boy says, "Govardhan will maintain his composure. Let us just enjoy the sound of Krishna's flute." One Brijavasi, one of the gopis, turned to Srimati Radharani and said, "Oh, Sri Radharani, your face is so beautiful. Please do not allow your eyebrows to dance. Because if Krishna sees that, his hand will shake and the hill may fall." Radharani and gopis were speaking to each other words of love, just describing the extraordinary beauty of Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill. And one Saki told to Sri Radharani, "Because Krishna is gazing upon you, there are tears in his eyes, and his limbs are trembling, and there's perspiration. But the cowherd men don't understand this. They think that these symptoms are coming because Krishna's tired. Therefore, look, they are all now putting their sticks under Govardhan Hill, thinking that they're helping him. But they don't know that it's actually your gaze upon Krishna that is empowering him to lift Govardhan Hill." Srimati Radharani looked on the ground, and then she gazed upon Krishna with a beaming glance that was like a shower of nectar that gave Krishna ultimate pleasure as he lifted Govardhan Hill and trembled. And as he was trembling, yes, all the cowherd men were putting sticks under the hill, thinking that they were holding the hill. And Madhu Mangal started laughing at them. Madhu Mangal said, "All of you are just scratching the bottom of the hill. You don't understand that my friend Krishna is the brother of Lord Balaram. He needs no other people's help to do what he wants to do." And Krishna, he told the Gopas, he said, no, don't laugh at these cowherd men. Out of parental love, out of fatherly affection, they are trying to serve me. Please do not disturb their mood of love. Let them hold their sticks. And then he said, "But I am not the least bit tired." Yashoda Mai said, "An entire day passed, and you have not eaten anything, Gopal. You must be afflicted by hunger. Look, your face is dried up, your belly is caved in, and even the cows are aggrieved. They won't eat grass until you eat something, Krishna. Please, stop playing your flute, and I will feed you. I made some nice soft cakes with yogurt. Please enjoy it." And Madhu Mangal again spoke. He said, "What your mother speaks is correct. You must follow what your mother teaches you. And besides that, I am also very disturbed by hunger." And Krishna looked at Yashoda Mai and said that, "I do not feel that I have even been holding Govardhan for even a moment. But if you like, you can feed me." So these are the wonderful pastimes that were taking place under Govardhan Hill. Now we will hear about what was happening above. Indra was absolutely furious. Yes. Buffaloes are even participating in Krishna's Leela. Indra's pounding the mountain with thunderbolts and high winds and torrents of rain. Prabhupada explains that it wasn't drops, it was columns, pillars of water just pouring down at high speed. And yet, on top of Govardhan Hill, the deers and the birds were just going branch to branch singing nice songs, and the deers were just looking up. There was no distress. This angered Indra so much. He was screaming at the Samvartaka clouds to do their work harder. And the Samvartaka clouds, in fear of Indra, with all of their might, with all of their strength, were just doing everything to devastate Vrindavan. Meanwhile, there was another type of storm going on underneath Govardhan Hill. Krishna was like a rain cloud, and his peacock feather was like a rainbow. The gopis were like lightning, and Krishna's beauty was like the rain that was showering upon the Brijabasis with the love of his beautiful form. By the mercy of Giriraj, all the Brijabasis were immersed in endless happiness. It was a special time. It was the only time when everyone in Vrindavan could be with Krishna 24 hours a day, feeling the love of his glance. And although Krishna was standing there playing upon his flute and lifting the Govardhan Hill, with his glance, with his smiles, he was perfectly reciprocating with each one of his devotees. And each of his devotees were offering their full love to Krishna in that situation. Those in Santaras, they were like Raktak and Patrak, they were rendering various services to Krishna. Dasyaras. The Brahmins in Santaras, they were offering blessings and chanting mantras for the protection of Krishna. And those in Sakyaras were joking with Krishna and laughing with Krishna, and Subal was encouraging Krishna. And those in the elder gopas, they were smelling Krishna's head and just offering beautiful prayers to Narayan for the protection of Krishna. And the gopis, simply through their gaze, were just bringing that beautiful form deeper and deeper and deeper into the cores of their heart, where they embraced him with their love. However, Yashodamai and some of the other older gopis were very sad. They could not tolerate seeing Krishna in this situation. In their ecstasy of love, Mother Yashoda, Krishna, you are so hungry. Please, put down your flute and eat this nice tambula that I have made for you, that I know you like very much. And then she turned to Subal and said, Subal, please put this in Krishna's mouth. And Subal, with his left hand, held Krishna's flute, and with his right hand was putting the tambula in Krishna's mouth to eat. And for the pleasure of Yashodamai, Krishna smiled and was chewing upon the tambula. And then Mother Yashoda smiled. Her heart was very much pacified. But Indra was not pacified. He was so furious. He was just literally on his elephant, just ordering and screaming and terrorizing the Samvartaka clouds, that if they were not successful, what that would mean. So the Samvartaka clouds just extended all of their energies until there was nothing left. They were so totally exhausted. They just all came to Indra and fell at his feet and said, "We're defeated. There's nothing else we can do." Now that made Indra even more determined. Then he personally took on himself, with all of his force and all of his assembly of helpers, just created immense winds to blow Govardhan off Krishna's little finger. But they couldn't. And Indra, thunderbolt after thunderbolt after thunderbolt. It was like the grand finale of the storm. It went on for 7 days and 7 nights continuously. And when Indra looked to see what damage he had done, there was not, of all the millions of trees on Govardhan Hill, with all of his powers, he was not able to disconnect a single leaf from the trees. He was not able to even bend a single blade of grass out of the countless panes of glass. He was not able to even cause the slightest cry from any of the animals. They were all singing in bliss. Why? Because Giriraj is Haridas Bharya, the greatest servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. He was in ecstasy. The gigantic mountain Giri Govardhan, in one little part, was the tip of Krishna's little finger. And just the touch of Krishna's little tip finger was bringing him so much ecstasy that his whole body was transcendental to anything Indra or anyone else could do. Indra, those 7 days seemed like 7 millenniums. But for the Brijabasis, they seemed like the 7 most joyful hours of their life. Indra surrendered. He ran out of all strength. He gave up. The rain stopped. The sun began to shine. And Krishna told Brijabasis, "Now you may all return home. Bring the cows and the calves." So all the Brijabasis, they were very happy that the storm had ended. But they were also very sad that they had to go home. But it was Krishna's will. So they left. First the elder gopis and the elder gopas, and then the young gopis. As they were walking out, they kept looking back at Krishna and looking back at Krishna and looking back at Krishna and just gazing upon him with great love. It was very difficult for them to leave after 7 days of non-stop gazing upon the beautiful form of Shyamsundar, Giridhari. And then the gopas were herding the cows out. And after they came out from the umbrella of Govardhan, all the cows, they could not give up Krishna's association. They just went against the wish of all the gopas and ran back and gathered around Krishna. And then Giridhari, while lifting Govardhan Hill, with his eyes, herded the cows out from under Giri Govardhan. Then the Lord placed Giri Govardhan back into the ground just as he was previous. And when Krishna came out, all the Brijabasis, according to their particular love, welcomed him. Nanda Maharaj embraced him and smelled his head with great affection. Balaram embraced him and was weeping tears of affection. All the gopas were embracing him and joking with him and congratulating him. And Yashoda Mai, she massaged, with motherly affection, she put Krishna on her lap and massaged his left arm and kissed it again and again and again to bring it relief. And Mother Rohini offered arti to Giridhari. The elder gopis offered blessings, the Brahmins offered boons. And again the gopis, they worshipped Krishna by a little distance away, embracing him within their hearts. Then the Gopas approached Nanda Maharaj. There's a beautiful chapter in Krishna book, which Prabhupada entitled Wonderful Krishna, where they're extolling the incredible activities of Krishna. When he was just a little infant baby, he killed Putana. And when he was only 3 months old, Sakatasura. And when he was only 1 year old, Trinavarta. And then later on, when he was just about 3 years old, Batsasura and Bakasura and Agasura. How is it that Krishna can perform such wonderful activities? And Nanda Maharaj again revealed the words of Gargamuni, that your son will have powers like Narayan himself, and he will always protect his devotees, the Brijabasis. Krishna then went around this area just to inspect how all of the trees and leaves and how Giri Govardhan was. And at that time, as we spoke yesterday, Indra, along with Surabhi, came before him. With the appeal of Surabhi, Krishna accepted Indra's forgiveness. And Indra realized how opulence in the form of beauty, strength, high birth, knowledge could be great disqualifications. Janmaishwarya Shrutishubhir Edamanamadhapuman. Bhagavatam tells like this. Everyone in this world wants to be of a respectable position in society. People want wealth. People want beauty. People want strength. People want to be seen as learned. But Kunti Devi said these are great disqualifications because they make you proud. And when there's pride, false pride, it spoils your devotional service. Nothing you do can really be pleasing to Krishna if it is done with false pride. Unless we're humble. Trinadapi sunichena taro ibasi hishnana. Amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Unless we're really living by these principles, we cannot feelingly call out Krishna's holy name.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Indra is a devotee. And we should understand that he's a very, very special devotee. I mean, how many of us, when we become proud, does Krishna lift Govardhan Hill and perform a leela that people are going to talk about for the rest of eternity? Indra's a special devotee. I mean, for Krishna to take so much trouble to resolve his problem, his disease of pride, it means he's very dear to Krishna. What's our position? We become proud and we just fall down. Krishna protected Indra, so he's a very exalted person. But most of all, he wanted to teach the world through Indra. He wanted to teach the world that we should not worship the demigods, We should respect and honor the demigods, but we should understand that Krishna is the cause of all causes. And by satisfying Krishna, Devarshi Bhutapti Nirnam Pitrinam Nakinkoranayam Ninicharajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Paritityakaratam. When we worship Mukunda, then we have fulfilled all our obligations to all the demigods, all of our forefathers, all the rishis and sages, and everyone else. Because he is Sarvakaranam, he is the cause of all causes. So Krishna wanted to teach exclusive devotional service to him, and not to divert our attention to any other rituals to anyone else. That is one of the great lessons of Govardhan Puja. And another great lesson is that however great and powerful we are, Krishna does not tolerate pride. It will spoil our relationship with him. Therefore, as Mahaprabhu taught, in the spirit of the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant, giving all respect to others and expecting none in return. With that aspiration, Krishna will very pleasingly reciprocate with us and appear within our heart and cleanse all of our anarthas when we feelingly chant his name. Please, very loudly and feelingly chant the holy name. Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki! Radha Kund Prabhu would like to speak something about the ants of Braj Bhumi.
On our parikrama today, we've stepped over a few colonies, and it reminded me of a time when Krishna was feeling a little melancholy. He could not get a smile on his face. So the gopis, they tried to get a smile on his face by beginning with a nice dance, and they were dancing very nicely, but Krishna would not get the smile on his face. So the boys, they tried doing some juggling and some magic tricks and some jokes, and Krishna still wouldn't get a smile on his face. So Madhamangal, he comes along and he says, "Glories to the ants of Vrindavan! Glories to the ants of Vrindavan!" So everybody's looking, and Krishna says, "Why are you saying like this?" And he says, "When you take prasadam, a little crumb may fall from your mouth, and it will be a feast for the ants. And they live in the ground of Braj Raj. Glories to the ants of Vrindavan." So the gopis, they got a little upset. They said, "Why do you get this dumb thing here, Madhamangal? Our dancing was so nice. The jokes and the juggling of the boys was so nice. Why did you smile at that dumb story?" So Krishna says, "When you were dancing, you were expecting me to point you out. And you were juggling and you wanted me to point you out. But Madhamangal, he picked the most insignificant animal to glorify. Glories to the ants of Vrindavan." Thank you very much.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
By the causeless mercy of the Vaishnavas, Srila Prabhupada, and our beloved Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas, we have come to Uddhava Kund. In this very sacred place, the assembled Vaishnavas beseech Srimati Devi Prabhu to kindly illuminate us with the words of her divine realizations.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Mutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Name Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurapani Pacharane Virpi Sesha Sripani Krishna Satarane. Hare Krishna Maharaj and Maharaj is my obeisances at your lotus feet. My obeisances at the lotus feet of this assembly of Vaishnavas. Yesterday, when Godbrother was speaking, about Srila Prabhupada, and he was mentioning how everyone who is currently preaching to some degree or another is leaving the remnants from Srila Prabhupada's merciful example. I was thinking that is true. And it's one of the ways to make spiritual advancement is to honor the remnants of the advanced devotees. But even more so, is along with honoring the remnants, is to serve to Prabhupada's mission. And that is the real respect that we can show Srila Prabhupada. Just like this kund here is very deep, we don't know how deep it is. Srila Prabhupada very deep. And his teachings to us remain very deep. So I will just give one small story, or maybe two. Once Srila Prabhupada very mercifully brought us as a young group of devotees who had just come to India, and he brought us to Vrindavan. And actually, he didn't bring us right away to Vrindavan. When we first came to India, there was no sightseeing, there was no tourism. It was simply serving Srila Prabhupada's desire to establish the Harinam movement in a very strong, meaningful way back in India. So, from the moment we landed on the plane in Bombay, less than 4 hours later, we were out on the street performing Harinam. And all of the traveling we did in those early few months was to go from one place to the other and perform Harinam and to speak about Lord Chaitanya's mission. So we didn't come to Vrindavan because there was no invitation here. There was no practical purpose for us to come here. But it wasn't until almost 2 years later, actually, that Srila Prabhupada brought us here, a group of us, on a bus, and Srila Prabhupada was in an ambassador car, which ultimately broke down, true Indian fashion. That's going right. Haribo. Okay. And so Srila Prabhupada also joined us on the bus. And we have quite nice buses on this yatra, but this was quite a typical Indian bus in those days with unpadded seats, and the windows weren't there, just some bars. And a lot of dust and a lot of fumes from the bus were inside the bus along with us. But we didn't seem to notice or even mind it very much because we were with Srila Prabhupada. And each day we would come out, like we were doing here, staying in one place and coming out each day to a particular place. So one day we came to Govardhan, and we didn't actually do parikrama by feet so much. We were going in different places, mostly in the bus, but then we would get down and pay our obeisances to this particular place or that particular place. And Prabhupada spoke very little. We didn't have a sound system. And at one particular place we stopped, and I haven't actually figured out where it was, but there was 2 kunjas, and one was being cleaned out. So he indicated that the men could go to one kunj and the ladies to the other. And he was going to have his massage. Across the street from this particular place there was a veranda and some doors to what looked like some type of dharamsala. And Prabhupada indicated that he was going to take his massage in one of these rooms. And I was going to cook, because when he was getting his massage, I would cook. I carried a trunk with me, and I had brought everything that I would need to prepare prasad. So I was sitting on the veranda cooking, and the servant opened the door for Srila Prabhupada to go in the room and get his massage. But when he opened the door, I could see there were no rooms at all. It was just a wall of doors. And on the other side was just Vrindavan. There were no rooms. But Prabhupada went in as if there was a room, and the door was closed. And he had his massage. And when he came out, the devotees had finished bathing, and the ladies were sitting on one side of the veranda. The men devotees were sitting on the other side of the veranda, and Prabhupada sat in the center of us. And as soon as he sat down, that was my cue that I should bring his prasadam. So I brought one plate, and I was in a little anxiety that day because I didn't have so much atta left. I just had a small amount of dough for chapatis. And so I brought out what I had first prepared. And the minute the plate for Srila Prabhupada was put down, 2 dogs appeared out of nowhere. And they were the typical hairless skin dogs with just big cuts and bruises and huge teeth, and they were snarling and making the typical dog noises, very aggressive, and they were charging right up to Srila Prabhupada. So immediately, some of the young sannyasis jumped up to protect Srila Prabhupada, and they started to make some motion toward the dogs, and Srila Prabhupada started to rise up, and he indicated to them they should sit down. And then he took off of his plate the chapati and he tore it in half, and he handed one to each dog, and then he went, "Jow." And the dogs immediately stopped snarling. They took their half a chapati and they just turned around and walked very calmly away. And Srila Prabhupada turned to us and he said, "You never know who they may be in Vrindavan." So this was a very wonderful lesson by practical demonstration from Srila Prabhupada, how to respect all living entities, particularly in Vrindavan. Since today, you are going today to Radha Kund, is that right? No? So Srila Prabhupada also took us for the first time to Radha Kund, and Hare Krishna. I guess he liked that story. Now it is, very nice how Radhanath Maharaj prepares everybody to have some spiritual understanding of whatever wonderful place is being, whatever wonderful place the devotees are going to observe for darshan. And the darshan is not simply just to see this pool of water or that particular tree or this building, but to actually understand the wonderful pastime that occurred there, and to understand the mood of the personalities who took part in the pastimes, and to get an opportunity to offer our respect to these particular holy places. So when Srila Prabhupada took us to Radha Kund, all we knew that this was a really special place, and we had heard, because the book wasn't out yet, but we had heard that it said in the Nectar of Instruction that if you take your bath in Radha Kund, that you're guaranteed liberation. So we were quite eager to take advantage of this offering. So when we arrived there en masse, of course en masse, I don't know how many of us there were, but it seemed like a lot of people in those days. To even get 30 or 40 or 50 devotees from abroad together in India was quite an enormous undertaking. So one busload meant there was maybe 35 of us, or maybe 40. But we arrived, and before anybody could think of anything, before Srila Prabhupada could actually offer any instructions on what to do or what not to do, devotees just started jumping into Radha Kund. And everybody was jumping in, the men and the women, and there was really no segregation. Everybody was just intent on jumping in. And I would have jumped in too, but I don't know how to swim. So I was blowing up a rubber inflation device so that I could go in. And I noticed that Srila Prabhupada was not going in, and I noticed that he was looking in a rather incredulous expression, that it seemed like he didn't know what to do, but it seemed like he wanted to do something. And then he started calling some devotees, and slowly it began to dawn on us that we weren't really entering Radha Kund in a proper mood. And he managed to get all the men out and move them over to Shama Kund. And after that incident, he gave the instruction that is well known also that we shouldn't go jumping in, taking bath in Radha Kund. Rather, he instructed us to just take a bath by offering water to our head. And more important, even before we wish to do that, we should offer our obeisances, something we neglected to do. So it is very nice to see how well everyone is being instructed in these days, particularly by Radhanath Maharaj during these yatras, when the proper mood of respect is there. And I am feeling that this is a wonderful way to please Srila Prabhupada. I want to thank all of you, and particularly Radhanath Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Malati Devi. When Malati Devi Prabhu speaks about Srila Prabhupada, I believe Srila Prabhupada manifests Hari Hari from the love of her heart and gives us his personal darshan. Malati Prabhu ki jai. In relation to proper understanding, Krishna sent Uddhava to Vrindavan to deliver message to the Brijvasis, and particularly to gopis. Being Krishna's dearest friend of the Yadus, his most intimate, loving devotee, Krishna also wanted to give the highest mercy to Uddhava. He sent him to Vrindavan so that he could understand the sweetness, the purity, and the depth of the gopis' love in separation from him. Uddhava was with Krishna most frequently. He would speak confidential topics with him, sometimes lay with him, sit with him, joke with him. In the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, the importance of Uddhava is so illustriously revealed, where Krishna spoke Uddhav Gita. Almost an entire canto of instructions on all levels of bhakti were shared with Uddhava. He sent him to Vrindavan because he wanted Uddhava to aspire for something that he didn't have, the intimate love of the residents of Vrindavan. So Uddhava came here thinking that he was going to give something to them. But then he realized what they were given to him, an understanding of true spontaneous love. Uddhava wanted to reciprocate by putting the dust of the feet of the gopis and their maidservants on his head. But that would be improper. They were simple village girls, milking cows and churning yogurt. And Uddhava was a very, very esteemed prince of the Yadu dynasty. He was in royalty. So Uddhava prayed from his heart to be a creeper of grass on the ground of Vrindavan, so that the gopis and their servants may step on top of his head and he would get the dust of their lotus feet. He considered that the greatest treasure And Krishna fulfilled his prayer. Just across from Uddhava Kund is Kusum Sarovar. We can see it from here. And just in the corner, very close to Uddhava Kund, is where Uddhava was blessed with the fulfillment of his prayer. He became Gulamalata, a small keeper of grass, where he's eternally a resident of Vrindavan, just waiting and waiting for the dust of the feet of the Brijabasis to come upon his head. Just before Krishna went to Prabhask Kshetra to perform his Mausalya Leela of leaving this world, he spoke with Uddhava, these glorious instructions of Uddhava Sandesh. The Uddhava Gita. And Krishna sent Uddhava to Badrikashram. While Uddhava was traveling to Badrikashram, Krishna, Balaram, and the whole Yadu dynasty left for Goloka. But many of the queens remained. Those queens of Dwarka were submerged in the ecstasies of separation. At that time, Vajranabh, who was the king of Braj, Vajranabh, great-grandson of Krishna, which means related to the queens, he brought them here to Uddhava Kund. And there Vajranabh performed Harinam Sankirtan, chanting the holy names of Krishna. And amongst the queens, they were chanting with so much devotion and separation that one by one, various associates of Krishna who had already departed from the world began to appear. Various members of the Yadu dynasty began to appear again. And the kirtan was becoming more and more and more transcendentally intense with separation from Krishna, and at the same time joyful, because devotees, Krishna's associates, the Vaishnavas, were coming one after another, and unable to resist this wonderful opportunity, all of a sudden, out from a clump of grass appeared Uddhava. And he started dancing and singing ecstatically. Soon there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of devotees chanting. And before everyone's eyes, Radha, Krishna, gopis appeared and gave their darshan. And then they disappeared after fulfilling the devotees' inner desires. Uddhava, in order to pacify the queens, in order to pacify Krishna's queens here at Uddhava Kund, he spent many days speaking Bhagavat of Krishna's Leelas. And therefore this is a very, very sacred place where this great servant of Lord Krishna, Uddhava, revealed the glories of Vrindavan. Many of us are coming from Western world, some from Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, so many places. Uddhava came from Dwarka. But what was his mood of coming to Vrindavan? He did not want to come and be a guru here, or be a proprietor of land here, or be a department head or president here. Uddhava, who's millions and millions of times more intimate than Krishna than we can imagine, he wanted to be a piece of grass here. And he conceived of that as a achievement that he did not deserve. That was his prayer. That was how much Uddhava valued, honored, and appreciated what Vrindavan represents. The highest realm of spiritual revelation. Please understand that Dwarka is millions of times higher and more intimate than Vaikuntha. And he's the most intimate servant of Dwarka. We're not talking about Bombay or Delhi or London. He was the most intimate personal servant of Dwarka, Dwarka Leela. That means an eternal resident of Goloka. Or Krishna Loka. I'm sorry, Krishna Loka. But when he came to Vrindavan, he just wanted to be a piece of grass to be stepped on. He wanted no position. He wanted no prestige. He wanted no honor. He wanted no control. Because as far as he was concerned, Vrindavan is such a place. If I could just be a piece of grass, that will be the ultimate mercy of the Lord. Uddhava is teaching us how to approach Vrindavan. Trinadapi suniche nataror ivasehishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. We speak this verse often, but Uddhava, not only did he aspire to be a blade of grass, but he became a blade of grass. Haribo. He just wanted to have the most insignificant position underneath the feet of every other devotee. That was his aspiration. And that is how we should approach Vrindavan. In that humble, menial spirit of servant of the servant of the servant. And if Krishna and the Vaishnavas and Guru want that blade of grass to serve as a leader or a very high position, then it's our duty to take it in obedience, in a spirit of a blade of grass. So yes, while we are here doing the Govardhan Parikrama and traveling through Braj, let us remember Uddhava Kund, and let us remember the aspiration that Uddhava longed and prayed for in Vrindavan. And let us adopt that mood. Because when through our humility, our dedication, our faithful and loyal service to Guru and the Vaishnavas, Krishna is pleased with us. Radharani shows her favor to us. Then they can lift us up and put us in whatever they want us to do in their Leela. But from our side, let them do whatever they want with us. But let us long just to be a piece of grass where Radharani, Gopis, the Vaishnavas, and everyone can just put their feet on our head. Because in the path of bhakti, the more humble position of service we long for, the more Krishna will exalt us. So let us keep that message that Krishna taught the world through Uddhava in our hearts as we are performing Braj Parikrama. And let us long for that type of humility as we chant the holy name. Sometimes people, they buy property in Vrindavan and think, now I am proprietor of Vrindavan land. Hare Krishna. I have my house in Vrindavan. I'm not against people buying property in Vrindavan. But we have to have the proper mentality. You cannot own Vrindavan. Radharani is Vrindavaneshwari. This is a total illusion to think that this is my property. The holy Dham, mine. That's Mahamaya. That's Mahamaya just duping you and cheating you. Yes. We should just want to be a blade of grass in Radharani's land. And that's something that may take millions and billions of births to achieve. But if we have hope, even in billions of births, to be that blade of grass, we're willing to sacrifice our lives for all those billions of births and never give up the service to Guru, because that's a small price to have one little tiny place where we could serve the Dham. But Srila Prabhupada's mercy, he taught us that if we just follow our vows carefully and humbly try to follow his instructions, in this very life he will take us back home, back to Godhead. That is his causeless, inconceivable mercy. So no, we don't want to be proprietors. Sometimes even when coming to Vrindavan, Mahamaya deceives us. This is Radharani's abode. We can't enter through the covering of Maya until we really have this humility. Beginning with Uddhava's humility, to just want to take the lowliest position of service here in Vrindavan Dham. Shyamananda Goswami, great scholar, great Vaishnava. He was just, from his heart and soul, so grateful to have the service of just sweeping the pathways that everyone would walk on. Yesterday during parikrama, there was one old lady, very old lady, very simple, tattered up cloths. And as we were, after we passed, or before, just before Surabhi Kund, she had one of those little brooms. She was on her knees sweeping. And it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable what she did. It melted anyone's heart who saw this. She so perfectly and meticulously swept one part of the road so that whoever passed it, not a speck of dust would raise. She just swept it thoroughly for the pleasure of the devotees. She wasn't getting paid anything for it. She didn't ask anything from anyone. She just wanted to do the most menial service of sweeping, and she swept it so meticulously and so immaculately clean. It was from her heart. It wasn't ritualistic. And she did it in such a way that nobody even really would see that she just got out of the way and hid when she saw people coming. But Radharani and Nandanandana, they were watching her. So Shyamananda was just sweeping the pathways for the common people. And sweeping the pathways, meditating on the Leelas of the Lord. And he found Radharani's ankle bell. And it was so effulgent and so beautiful, he understood it must be hers. And Radharani told Lalita Saki, please find my ankle bell. I lost it. And Lalita Saki approached. His name was then Dukhi Krishna. He said, did you see an ankle bell? She said, yes, I have found. Could I have? Whoever it belongs to, I would like to give it to her. So Lalita Saki brought Shyamananda into the aprakata lila of Radha and of Radharani. Brought her right into the spiritual essence of Vrindavan. And Radharani accepted the ankle bell which was offered with pure love and devotion. And then Srimati Radharani pressed that ankle bell on his forehead and made a special unique tilak, which the descendants of Shyamananda Goswami still wear that shaped tilak on their heads. And also Srimati Radharani gave him name. Dukhi Krishna means miserable Krishna. Doesn't it? Something like that. His name was Dukhi by his father and mother. The reason is because the mother, so many children died. One after another, every child they had died. And finally, one child, they didn't want to die. So they named Dukhi, thinking that Yamaraj would feel sorry for him if his name was Dukhi. And let him live. And then when he got initiated by Hridaya Chaitanya, he added Krishna, Dukhi Krishna Das. But Srimati Radharani personally gave him the name in the aprakata lila of Shyamananda. Krishna gives bliss to Sri Radharani Shyama. And then he came out of that wonderful, and it's a nice story that follows. But please understand, Shyamananda Goswami, when he came to Vrindavan, as great and powerful as he was as a scholar, as a Vaishnava, he was happy in the most menial service of just sweeping the earthen pathways. So let this be our consciousness, because this is the consciousness that will attract Radharani's mercy. Thank you very much. Now we will continue our parikrama. The next place is a very wonderful surprise. Yeah. So as we are going, let us be chanting the holy names, begging for the most menial, simple place as service, as a servant of the servant of the servant of the holy Dham. That is the spirit of Uddhava Kund. And in this spirit, let us loudly chant the holy name.